Hello and welcome. We are back on All for United, and isn't it a good time to be a Manchester United fan? Yes, I know it was only Barnsley, but still 7-0 is 7-0, and oh my God, didn't that feel good? We have got a lovely little panel here today. We've got Andrew Wall, who was definitely at the game last night. He kept sending me loads of pictures. How are you doing tonight, Mr. Andrew Wall?
Yeah, all good. It was definitely some nice football played last night. It was definitely worth the getting through all that traffic on the M6, and so definitely deserved the win. So we was running rampant. We were around the pitch. Could have probably scored even more than just the 7 the way we were playing.
Absolutely, a 7-0 win. Terrible traffic, but at least made it through safely. So, good
Yes,
news, right?
didn't hit anybody either. So
Happy days.
didn't bump into any United legends. Unfortunately,
and
they are
of
getting
course,
there first.
just below me, we have got. We barely knew he existed anymore. He just disappeared for, it felt like, for quite a while. But he is back. He's not at the pub tonight, so all is well. It's Mr. John Neville. Were you at the game, and how are you?
Hi, Barry. Yes, I was at the game last night. Yes, it was a good morale boost for everybody last night. I know it was very sort of inferior opposition, but I'm sure it'll have done a lot of those players the world of good last night. And yeah, nice to see a few goals scored for a change.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm pleased. It was a good game, one that was quite enjoyable to watch for the most part. And listen, I know that sometimes when we do these reaction shows, we don't really want to talk about the lineups because they were so similar. But we have to tonight because, well, I don't know how you feel about it, but I was gobsmacked when it came across the radio. I was just driving back from training, and oh my God, 8 changes. Oh, is everyone all right? Is Ten Hag injured? Has something gone wrong? Has Van Nistelrooy taken over? It was wonderful to hear, actually, that in the Carabao Cup, we were making 8 changes. Andrew, when you saw the team sheet come out, how did you feel? Because it is one of those, isn't it? You would sort of think ordinarily, well, we've traditionally gone strong in this competition, but to have had that number of changes, I know that I was busy doing a show last night, so we got Connor to post the team, and we did set up the usual formation that we have. Uh, and he just texted me and went, "I don't even know what this could look like," because they were all in. It didn't set up as an ordinary formation. It was really difficult to work out where they were going to be. Is that kind of what your thoughts were?
Yeah, well, we saw that. Well, that's said Shane with me in the car. I was like, I said, "Oh, I think the lineup's out." So I was trying to work out what's he playing in because it was like the initial thought, who's playing at left back, and then was like, well, I was working out. I thought he's gone 3 centre backs here, and I thought, who's he going to slot into left back? And then as the game started, it was like Collier was. So when we was having to defend, he'd slot back into the left back role, so it became 4. But then as soon as we were on the attack, he went back into the midfield alongside Ngate and Casemiro. A bit like Dallo, the other side, it was like he would get further forward when we was on the attack, but then drop back in. So it was just like, what's a 3 centre back? Well, no, Dallo was playing more of the right, but I was just like initially trying to work it out. But looking at that whole lineup as a whole, yeah, 8 changes, and I suspected Ten Hag would keep most of the side from Southampton, but I think he's realised, you got to make use of the squad, and those players that haven't had minutes are going to be hungry to get on the pitch, and show what they're about as well. So even though those changes, it was led by selection of international talent, led by Marcus, Garnacho, Anthony, it definitely offered enough, in the final third to cause, a lot of problems, and which it did for Barnsley. So, yeah, it was just initial thoughts on it was just like, just trying to work out what he's doing, but it all paid off in the end.
I mean, it did, and for you, again, it was just strange across the board. I mean, let's not forget that this time last year, well, not this time last year, but last year, Alto India had one appearance in the entirety of the season. They took Andre Onana off to the African Cup of Nations, and they asked if he could fly in a day late just so he could play in one more game. But yet here we are in this game. India's given the start, which is par for the course. It's what you would usually do with your backup goalkeeper. And then just the whole formation change. And we'll come to that as well. But seeing people like Toby Collier being given the opportunity to start as well. Christian Eriksen obviously started again. Maguire and Evans were starting. But when you're looking at that starting lineup, were you thinking, yeah, this is still a team that's strong enough to beat Barnsley? And were you shocked?
I was a little bit surprised with some of the names that started. I was never really concerned, particularly that that the team was under strength or anything like that at all. But it was quite refreshing to see a few different faces in there, and maybe a few in perhaps not their normal position. But overall, yeah, it was very accomplished performance by everybody. I think really, I was a bit surprised to see such as like Eriksen and Rashford starting again. I thought they might have perhaps had a rest after the game on Saturday, but no, it seemed to all work pretty well, and and the substitutions as well. They all made a good impact when they happened as well.
They did, and again, John, when we talk about the formation, it all felt a bit weird again because, and I actually tweeted that, it feels a bit weird, but we were 1-0 up at the time when Rashford scored. But we seem to have Evans, Maguire, and Dalot as sort of like a central three. Dalot was just sort of tucking in. Toby Collier at left back, effectively, and the left wing back was what he was doing. And we'll get to that particular thing in a moment because I do want to do a separate question on that because I'm not overly delighted with that as a decision, but we'll come to that one in a second. And obviously Anthony was pretty much marshalling the right hand side. So you then had your Casemiro, Ugarte, and Eriksen sort of as the midfield three, with Rashford and Garnacho as the main two up top. We've spoken on this channel early doors about possible formation changes. Is that a formation you can see us move into regularly throughout the season? Obviously not necessarily with the same people. You can have Luke Shaw or Tyrone Malacia, someone like that, coming in at left back if they needed to. Mazraoui, obviously, more likely than Anthony. But you're not playing Ahmad. You've got those sort of players missing. Is this a situation where you could see that 3-5-2 being used quite a bit, or do you think this was just the best way to get the players in and playing so that they had the opportunity to play rather than sticking to the same formation? Why do you think he did it?
I don't think, like you say, it was probably just down to accommodating the particular players that he wanted to start the game. I think more than anything, whether it's something he's thinking of doing as in some more of the cup games possibly, or maybe he's experimenting for the European games or something like that. I'm not too sure, but it did all seem to everybody seemed to fit in well, and it didn't look like we were out of sorts or anything like that. So I was pretty happy with it.
Andrew, same sort of question to you, really. The 3-5-2, which is effectively what it was, a 5-3-2 when you're out of possession almost. It did seem a bit weird. Like I said, we'll come back to Toby Collier, but is that one that you can see being utilised? Because, like I say, you can still get your Mainu in, you can still get players in and around the team without that being too much of a problem. But somebody like an Amad Diallo could potentially miss out because it is a more focal front two rather than having the three across there. Can you see that being used in a league game, for example, or do you think, again, this was just a case of if we do this, it gives us the opportunity to play these players and give them a chance to get in there, because we've changed the formation. And yes, I know it's only Barnsley, but it's the biggest we've ever had under Ten Hag.
Yeah, he gives Ten Hag another option. Would he start employing it in every game? No, it's probably certain teams he can do that against and bring certain players in to fit that system. I think he said there will be rotation. He said, well, I think he said the conclusion from, or I think he was saying to the media, the conclusion from all of you is not right. He says that when I pick an 11, I drop a player. I pick a starting 11 because I know I have to rotate. He says we have more. What we do, we have more than 11 players who can be in the lineup in any match at any moment. So, certain games he can employ that formation. But I'm just thinking against the top teams, would he employ that format? You adapt to every single game and the opposition you're in front of you. So it's just. Yeah. Don't think he's going to be using it in every game going forward, but it's another option now. We're not so regimented. I remember just thinking in Ten Hag's first season, we all said, he needs to rotate some of the players, and it's good that the same 11's playing and they're getting that, cohesion together. But sometimes players need a rest as well. So it's as I said, those players that haven't had any minutes so far, the likes of Anthony, it's good opportunities to come on the pitch and go, this is what I'm about. I'm trying to force Ten Hag's hand. You should be starting me more than my teammate. It's just like giving me a bit of a headache. So just like that's for Ten Hag and the coaches to work out. Each game, what's the best system that's going to get us, all the points as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. And again, there was no point in any of that where I really felt bad about the way the players were playing or the positions they were playing in. I was a bit flummoxed at having Diogo Dalot as a sort of central type of player, but at least it was to the right of the three, so you could kind of see where they were going with that one. But the one that blew me away was Toby Collier. Now, I've sort of gone backwards and forwards over this one, because on the one hand, you sit there and think that's good. He's got lots of game time there. That's a good thing for him. That's vital for his journey into playing professional football, because it gives him that experience playing in these matches. But you want experience playing where you're supposed to play. Like, if I wanted experience, I don't know, in management, I wouldn't want to go in and become the kick man, something like that, because that's not really managing the team. And it's the same sort of thing here. Toby Collier's getting the experience, but he's getting experience at left wing back, and that isn't his position. He was caught out a few times, and it's not his fault. He had some tackles going in. He was always leading with his right foot. Dennis Irwin made that left-sided fullback, wing-back position look easy as a right-footed player, but it's not. Like, it's all inverted. It's all flipped. You've got to do everything you would do on the other side. And Toby Collier's not a right back either. He works in the midfield. So we're actually asking him to do something that I thought was not really very fair. Where do you stand, John, on Toby Collier being given the time in that position? Was that the right move to make? Could we have put Anthony over there on the left-hand side and had Dalot on the right? Who would we then have put in at the back? That been a case of would have had to have gone with Casemiro. But whereabouts did you see that decision in your mind? Because for me, I can't fully get on board with it. I think we've done Toby Collier a bit of a disservice there, because, like I say, it's a hard thing for him to do. And I'm just pleased that nobody's jumped to his back. Because we've won 7-0, it'll just fly under the radar and nobody will really care too much. But that could have been a lot worse if that was better opposition. Maybe we wouldn't have done if it was better opposition. I don't know. I'm going to shut up now. You tell me. What do you think? Because I keep flip-flopping. I'm like Dan on this one. I don't know where to settle.
I thought he did. I thought he did well. He didn't look phased by it. He looked calm. I suppose it's we're a bit short of left-sided or sided defensive players at the moment. So it was a bit of needs must perhaps, but I don't have a problem with him, particularly giving him a chance there. I mean, if you've got the opportunity again in the first team, you'd stick your hand up and say you'd play anywhere. So I think it was a good opportunity for him, and he's had a bit of experience in the Community Shield and the second half of the Liverpool game, so he's played a little bit of first team football before last night. So he does look like he could be quite a prospect for the future. But be nice to see him in his more natural position at some point in the midfield.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. Yes, it was. In the end, it really, really was. I had a friend who was texting me, and he was saying that we could, it's not a clean sheet yet. You've gone a bit early. I never do. When I'm texting during a match, I just ignore it. They're all sitting there going about, oh, United are winning, United are this, and I shut up. I don't touch that. What I've learnt my lesson from that. Last thing you want to be doing is seeing United score a goal, going into the group chat and go, "Hooray, we're winning," because that backfires so quickly, and you properly get it when you're losing. But my God, it was easy. You're not wrong. So, Andrew, I know what you're smiling at, Andrew. Behave yourself. Whilst you're doing that, could you have a little think about this Toby Collier situation? Because for me, genuinely, I'm not happy about it. I'm not, as I say, but John, he thinks it's good experience. What would you have gone for?
I say at times during the match, because Garnacho was on the left as well. I thought, because I've got blonde hair, I was like, is that Collier or Garnacho? And I had to keep reminding myself, oh, it's Collier because of the blonde hair. But I'd say, even though he was out of position, well, when we was having to defend, he had to go his left back. Even though he was out, I thought he did well. Kind of agree with your point. He probably looked raw at times, and Barnsley, in that first probably 10 of. They showed no fear. It was like they were getting down our right-hand side quite a lot. And I remember one ball just got whipped in, and it was like it just evaded everybody across the defence. I thought if one Barnsley attacker got onto it, they could have been 1-0 up early and, stunned us all into a bit of silence, But, with Collier, it's, it was a pretty Liverpool game. He had nothing to lose in that second half. We're fighting a losing battle. Go out there and play. So is he good enough ready to start in the Premier League just yet? Probably not. But it's good for him to get some minutes, under his belt as well. So I'd say he did well. I think as Ten Hag said, Collier's a rising star at United. So he's had a good pre-season. He's shown some good work, in the games that he's had some minutes. So it's just, he's earned his right to play in the match as well. So, but it'll be interesting to see what Ten Hag is thinking that could be a likely role for him, pushing more towards left back. I think he tried that well. Tried to do it with Anthony, and Anthony just pushed back on it because he said, "I don't want to play at left back. I want to play on the wing." And I'm like, at the time last season, Anthony weren't getting in the zone. I thought, this is your opportunity to prove you can adapt and and fight for your place in the side. But yeah, with Collier, I just think we can't get too ahead of ourselves on him at the moment as well. So just got to see how his progress develops, because you don't want to rush somebody and they don't develop in quite the way you want, and they falter, and then they move on from the club. So it'll be interesting to see what over the course of the season what he does.
Yeah, I suppose so. Fair point. I guess, I don't know. I just feel like we've maybe setting him up to fail a little bit, but the pair of you seem quite optimistic about it, so I'll just shut up and get back in my grumpy butt and see what happens the next time he does it. But yeah, all good. So let's move on to the goals, shall we? Because there's just a few of those to talk about. We could be here till about 11 o'clock just talking about them. Let's kick off with the Superman himself, Mr. Marcus Rashford, who has, without a shadow of a doubt, got his confidence back. We saw that after his goal at the weekend. Excellent work. He was having the ability to get out there, to shoot from distance, from lots of different places. And I love that. I thought that was absolutely superb. So talk to me a little bit about John, Marcus Rashford, and his 2 goals. Because for me personally, again, I thought they were superb. And the first one in particular, I think was just excellent effort from him. So yeah, let us know a little bit. What do you think? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it ugly? What was it?
Yeah, they were 2 nice goals, 2 very good finishes. The first one, he sort of made a bit of a darting run and then sort of skip through a couple of Barnsley defenders, and then it was an emphatic finish. I thought he might have just tried to place it or slot it in for the first one, but he sort of smashed it in the corner. So that was nice. And yeah, I think the second one took it quite early. If he hit it first time or he just took one touch, it was very nice finish again. Near post that time. So yeah, 2 high quality bits of play from him there, and hopefully it'll boost his confidence up a bit more from the goal he scored at the weekend.
Absolutely that. Andrew, for you, again, Marcus Rashford, we said that if he gets one, he often goes on a run and he scores a few. And yes, I know it's only Barnsley, but that's that first goal. The touch he took, moving himself inside, and then he powers it in. It was the shot of a confident striker. And like I say, 2 goals at the end of it. That probably could have had 1 or 2 more if he'd have been a bit luckier.
As well, Ten Hag alluded, the ketchup bottle, once, the ketchup starts to come out, it'll come out even more. So it seems like Marcus has got a bit of his swagger back now. It's like continuing his good form from, the weekend again. We scored against Southampton. So, and he was given a start, starting role being the striker as well. So, it was just a brilliant individual move by him on the right where he just cut inside and then took on the the Barnsley defenders, and I just thought that's the Marcus, previous season, where he was in good form, taking on the opposition and getting past them. Whereas like last season, it was like reverted back to couldn't quite get past them. So it's good to see. He's just providing a glimpse of what he's been capable of. And saying hopefully this is the start of him on a goal scoring run. Over the last 18 months he's faced fierce criticism, and feels like now he's ready to start righting the wrongs. Probably he's not been happy with his display, righting those wrongs as well. So it's just like I think for Marcus is having informed players around him that can give him that service, but also his own individual brilliance, creating the goals as well. Because you had Garnacho on the left and Anthony on the right, and Rashford through the middle. We had a lot of pace in that final third, and we was able to progress our attack in a matter of a number of passes as well. So if goals weren't coming from Marcus, they wouldn't come from Garnacho or Anthony as well. So, and I mean, Marcus' second goal, he was Garner setting him up as well. So, and he just looks like he's back to his best, after what looked like, being a poor start for him, for Marcus, hopefully those, 3 goals in 2 games now will be hopefully the start of something special, for the rest of the season. So we'll see.
Absolutely. And Jarvis has jumped in on the Toby Collier discussion. He said, do 18, 19-year-olds really have a set position yet? They've got ability and preferred roles, but most top players start out strikers before finding their spot. Same goes for Collier. He just needs to adapt. And I don't disagree with what you're saying. It's a fair point because younger players do have that ability to adapt. But I think it's also about where you put him. If you stick him in defence, that's not a problem. Sticking him on the left when he's a right-footed player, like that's either a real measure of how much faith Erik ten Hag's got in him, or it's a poor decision. Because again, what you do on the left-hand side, ideally you want to be left-footed for. I think being right-footed, everything's just really tricky to get into, and that was what he was getting caught out on a few times. He was making a few fouls, getting caught out a few times, and that's all because he was trying to do things with his right foot, because that's the thing that he's naturally using. So I'm not saying he couldn't do it. I just feel like he probably needs a little bit more time in that, and I can't believe for 1 minute that Toby Colley has been training as a left wing back for the last 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks. So this to me feels like it was a short-term decision. He did do well. I wasn't suggesting that he didn't, but I just think we did him a disservice and didn't necessarily help him out as well as we could have done. Philip, going back in time, remembering all them years ago when we beat Ipswich 9-0, I do remember that was a beautiful day. CFAX and teletext. Oh, goodness. Do you even remember what that was, Andrew? Remember a bit of teletext?
I remember CFAX, so yeah, I'm old enough to remember it.
Just check him. Usually there's somebody on here that doesn't have a clue. It's usually Dan, to be fair. He's not sure what happened before the millennium. And NT saying the most promising thing for me, apart from their goals, was that both Marcus and Garner were trying to find each other when they were both on a hat-trick. I hope Rasmus gets the service. Well, let's talk a little bit about Garnacho, because it was 2 goals for Rashford, but also 2 goals for Alejandro Garnacho, John. And again, excellent work from Garnacho for both goals. They linked up well as a front pairing. But they certainly did seem a lot more in sync, and some of that could be to do with the level of opposition they're playing. I do accept that, but they really were working well together. And again, Garnacho of the pair, the one that probably should have had the hat trick after skying one just over the bar. He had a great opportunity there, but again, 2 great goals and something that helps us and builds that confidence going into the next games.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he was just in the right place for the first one he scored, where it just sort of fell to him, fortunately, and he just had to poke it in. The second one was some very nice play, although you'd probably question the defensive shape of the Barnsley players for that one. But the way he ran through, he has had 1 or 2 of those where he's sort of been clean through last season and made a mess of it, but he was very composed there. Took it nice and early before the keeper had really chance to set himself, and slide it nicely in the bottom corner. And like you say, other than a poor finish a bit later on, he'd have had a hat trick as well. But yeah, he's obviously got 3 in 2 now, the same as Marcus. So should be full of confidence now going forwards.
You really should be. I mean, the pair of you have seen Alejandro Garnacho play time and time again. But Andrew, for you, like, how special can this kid be? I saw a tweet while I was, posting the scores and everything and updates on the Twitter channel, and there was just one that said, "Oh, how long can we keep Garnacho for?" And it's interesting because that we haven't really heard at Manchester United those words for a player for quite some time. For us to be sitting there and going, how long can we keep hold of this player? We've had that same sort of chat about people like Ronaldo. Are we in a situation where that's how good this youngster could become? Do you see him on a similar, because we all know the sitting on the hoarding celebration is a bit of an homage to Ronaldo. We know that he likes a lot of his tweets and everything. Are we in a situation with Garnacho where he is following a similar trajectory? And I'm not trying to put pressure on the lad. I'm just saying, is that how you see it? Because it surprised me. It's not something I'd thought about. I was never sat there going, Garnacho might leave to go to another club one time soon, because I feel he's too young for that. But there are clearly some people in the fan base that are starting to think that his star is going to rise so much that he may not be a Manchester United player for, well, I don't know. It could be 5 years, could be 6 years. He might move on. He may not be a Ryan Giggs and just stay forever. What do you reckon about that?
was going to say, I remember seeing Garnacho, you know, in the Youth FA Cup final of a good few years ago, and I just think how much he has changed in the last number of years. It's like changing before our eyes, you know, and he's shown he can dominate games now at a first team level as well. So I think I was reading somewhere last year a Spanish newspaper compared Garnacho to Eric Cantona, and I was like, it's quite a bold statement to make, but you know, Eric's Eric, so he's unique in his own way. But it's like if they're going to actually, you know, for players lauded in Argentina as the next, you know, Messi, you know, and Garnacho idolises, you know, Cristiano. So you thought you'd idolise, you know, his countrymen, but you know, let's say, you know, the comparisons, you know, he's made with other legend, you know, Ghana can't control all of this. All he has to do is, you know, work on his game, take the progression step by step, you know, and we're seeing that results, you know, on when he's delivering on the pitch. You know, last night I expect, well, because he hasn't been starting in recent games, I thought, well, he's going to definitely be starting against Barnsley straight away. So I was like, produced one of his best performances. You know, scoring 2 goals, you know, and providing 2 assists as well. So he's grown into a star, you know, and it's good to see his career blossoming as well. So, and I think former United player Danny Webber said, you know, this is down to his physical growth. You know, he's now able to show his quality at over 90 minutes. You know, he's great coming off the bench and being having that explosive impact. But if he starts, he can sustain it over 90 minutes as well. So, yeah, for Ten Hag, you know, this can only be good headache for him as well, because you got Ahmad as well and kind of fighting out for the right wing spot, and it pretty much seems like Rashford is, you know, nailed on for the left hand side, so it's down to Garner and Ahmad, you know, fighting out between each other, you know, to, you know, who gets that, you know, starting berth as well. But I mean, the goals he scored last night, well, I think the second one, it was just like a lovely team move, you know, and then Ericsson just, you know, picking out that pass to him, and Garner, all he had to do was just run the length of the Barnsley half and just took it away. So he just did his job, and, you know, just, you know, adding to his goals and assists even more. So, but yeah, it's, you know, can't wait to see what more he can do, and hopefully he stays with us for a very long time. But depends what he sees in his career in football as well.
Very true. Very true. Can't argue with that. Fulham doesn't agree with you. I think he is. I think it's been proven, and it doesn't necessarily need to be nailed on. I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, I don't think he's saying he's nailed on insofar as his performances have shown that, but just nailed on in the fact that Ten Hag, Van Nistelrooy and the like are clearly going to pick him in that position.
On that position. So yeah.
So
it's not going to say he's going to start every game, but I'm saying Rashford, that's the position they're going to put him in, on the left-hand side, not on the right, because he has done that before, but he's not been as effective. So coming in off the left or going through the middle is Marcus's best positions.
I get it. I hear you. Christian Eriksen would be the next one, which is there were 3 braces, which was quite something. And Christian Eriksen was not on my bingo card of players that were going to get a brace. I think there would have been other players that I'd have thought of that might have done that. And full facts, it was indeed Mr. Christian Eriksen who got it. Now, at the last chat that we had at the weekend, we were talking about the previous match. We were saying, Christian Eriksen, could he still do a job for Manchester United? Is he the forgotten man of Manchester United? He's not been mentioned too much in midfield, John. But obviously, he got the start again in this game. And my goodness, he took it. And he was actually really quite important. And again, I keep prefacing everything. Yes, I know it's only Barnsley. We're not trying to say that now that we won 7-0, we're going to go off on a title-winning slant and we're going to win the quadruple and all of that sort of stuff. That's not the level of joy that we're getting here, but it shows there's definitely still a role for Christian Eriksen this season, isn't there? And the goals that he took were really well taken goals as well.
Yeah, 2 nice finishes again. I said earlier that I was surprised about him starting again after him starting on Saturday. You know, we thought with probably this season we'd probably just see him as a sort of sub late on towards the end of games sort of thing, not get many minutes. But perhaps that's not the case. Maybe Ten Hag's got some bigger plans for him this season. Obviously he's in the twilight of his career, but he looked in good form last night, and 2 late goals to cap it off. So hopefully he's coming to a bit of form as well.
He certainly does seem to be. You're not wrong there. And Andrew, again, very similar sort of question to you, because Christian Eriksen has been through so much over the course of the last 5 years. He was on a massive upward spiral. Obviously had his health problems. Ends up at Manchester United. And it's really interesting. He came in for Casemiro. He played alongside Casemiro for this particular game. And there's a possible argument even that he was one of the potential man of the matches for the game, because he really did just control what was going on and then got his just rewards with the 2 goals. What do you make of him? And do you see him being used? Could he be the one that's played now instead of Casemiro alongside Kobbie Mainoo? Or do you think the pair of them will alternate due to the fact their legs may not be as fresh as they used to be?
Yeah, because seeing our WhatsApp chat and was going, Eriksen scored, and then so literally put the photo of the celebrator, and then you put that, was it Eriksen? I said, Eriksen again as well, because he literally scored within minutes, his 2 goals. But I say there's several great performances last night, and one of them was, Christian Eriksen. You look beyond his contributions in front of goal, control the proceedings in the middle of the park, and helped us, maintain our strong start until the end of the game as well. I think he had 65 touches of the ball. Found his teammates with 53 of his 55 passes he attempted. So, and two of his passes were key passes. I think in the one for Garnacho's goal as well. So he's in the 2 shots he had on target, he scored with them. So he's definitely. I think he enjoyed being in that more advanced role, which usually Bruno takes up, or Bruno likes to take up, but Bruno can move from that, and he has more of a free role, whereas Eriksen's more, he will be like that number 10, he'll just stay in that more of an attacking position. But I think in terms of going forward, I think it might just alternate between Casemiro and Christian Eriksen. You want to give them equal amount of rest, so they're both firing on all cylinders. And I think Christian was asked about, it's his final year in his final year of his contract as well. What's going to happen? He said, "Well, I just want to, enjoy my football, and then we'll see at the end of the season what happens next." I think that's the main thing. Just worry about it at the end of the season. Just help us as much as you can, and hopefully we're winning some trophies at the end of the season. So whether he stays or he goes, he goes. If he does, he goes with all our best wishes. But he's proved his worth last night. So he pretty much control, pulling the strings. That's what the word I was looking for. It was like orchestrating it all. So it all ran through him.
No, absolutely. There's a couple of people mentioning Altay India, and we'll go into that. Daz, for example, has asked a question. We will come to that. I've just got one more question about the goals before we can move into that sort of level of the show. That's not a problem at all. So we will ask that question, Daz. So stay tuned. We will do that just after this next one, because I tweeted out, and John, when Eriksen scored his second, that it's usually Domino's that does 2 for Tuesday. And it was us, because we were just doing 2 goals for everybody. There was one person who could have got a brace and didn't. And I actually put on the tweet, "Don't let us down, Anthony." And I'm sad to say that he did. He did let us down with just 1 goal. I'm joking, of course, but it was a bit frustrating that he had the whole 90 minutes. But interestingly enough, he did score. Simple thing for you, John. Number 1, was it a penalty? Because it looked a penalty in real time immediately. You can see he's leaving the leg. He's bought the penalty. I don't think there's any doubt about that, but it is a penalty. Just because you buy it doesn't mean it's not. You can't come out like the goalkeeper did and try and get the ball, miss the ball entirely, take the trailing leg, it's penalty. You know, if you're going to come in like that, you've got to accept the consequences, I think. So first of all, that. Second of all, were you surprised then to see Anthony step up and be the penalty taker? Do you think that was a calculated decision to try and get him off the mark and give him a bit of confidence like Marcus Rashford? Do you think some of the others, I don't want to use the words bottled it, but maybe said, no, I don't want this? You know, whereabouts do you think that is? Because that's a bit strange. He's not necessarily the penalty taker. In my mind, I would have thought Marcus Rashford would have been stepping up to take that penalty. So the fact that he didn't, do you think that's Marcus saying, look, I know you need it as well, so you take it? That him trying to do the right thing there? Why do you think Anthony ended up taking it? It was a good penalty, but why? Because he's not top of the list for that, I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, I was thinking with Rashford having already scored, I thought he'd probably fancy taking the penalty as well. It was one of those sort of like just classic goalkeeper fouls where the attacker gets there sort of just ahead of him and sort of gets a touch of the ball and sort of goes over him, and you know it sort of just makes it easy decision for the referee to give the penalty. But yeah, I really thought Marcus would want to taken it. So whether Anthony sort of went to him and perhaps said, you know, I've won it, I want to take it, perhaps, or whether Marcus offered it him originally, I'm not quite sure. I think Anthony might have probably the form read have gone over and said, I want to take it because he won it, and he's obviously not got a goal for quite some time.
Interesting. Daz not a fan. Tottenham were not very happy either. Bar time, but he did do quite well. Andrew, for you, I mean, I don't think any of us are going to say it's not a penalty, but I'm just looking at it again. Marcus Rashford, I'd have expected to take it over Anthony. Garnacho, possibly even Eriksen, Casemiro. You know, I feel like there's 3 or 4 players there that were potentially in the pecking order before Anthony. Why do you think it was? Did anybody else, you were there, did anybody else have the ball initially and then give it to Anthony, or was he just straight up picking it up and taking it? Because it is odd that a player that wins the penalty takes the penalty. There's usually like this unwritten spiritual mystical rule that if you win the penalty, you're probably going to sky it.
No, when Anthony got the penalty from where I was, it looked like it was. I haven't watched it back yet to say if it wasn't, but from our angle, it looked like the keeper clipped him. So let's say, and I think we all thought, maybe Marcus is going to step on, and get another goal. But Ten Hag has revealed that Marcus gave Anthony the ball as a gesture of team togetherness as well. So usually Bruno would be the one, taking the penalty. So when he was sitting on the bench, so you would have expected it to be Marcus who stepped up, but Marcus wanted to give it to his teammate. So plus he was starting his first game of the season. So he put the ball on the spot, he smashed it in. So and Marcus had already scored by that stage. So we went on and scored five more after that as well. So good for Anthony to get off the mark for the season as well. So he only scored like 3 times last season. So it just means now all 4 of United's wingers have found the net in the first month of the 24-25 season as well. But I don't know whether last night's game, Anthony definitely proved himself, but could have been one of the final last chances he was going to have to impress the Old Trafford faithful, because he got Ahmad and Garnacho definitely ahead of him in the pecking order as well. So Anthony was linked to move away, so he's probably hoping from last night's performance, a springboard for him, and hopefully he can grow from this, and he can contribute across the season as well. So, but yeah, initially I thought Marcus would step up, but good on Marcus as well. He's thinking of his teammates as well. Giving them the opportunity to get on the score sheet as he had already done himself.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Jarvis said Anthony had 7 shots. He lost the ball 15 times. John, it's interesting. People are like whatever happens, he's going to be our player until January. Like that's the bare minimum. We've got him now until January. This is the sort of game that you would imagine he is almost born to. Well, I said born to. That makes it sound really terrible, but it's like the sort of game that he's likely to be starting. Would you see him starting in like the Europa League games, or do you think Ten Hag is going to be much more consistent with what he wants to do and say, no, we're going strong, we're not going to be dropping down for this one? Do you think it was just because it was the Carabao Cup? Do you think we are going to see a bit more rotation? Because, you know, there's still a lot of negativity around Anthony, and this was against Barnsley. 7 shots isn't that bad, but again, it's against Barnsley. Is he going to be able to do that against the likes of a City, an Arsenal, a Liverpool? Is he going to get the chance to do that? And the fact that he cost us 80 million quid and we're basically saying, yeah, we're just going to use you in the Carabao Cup, it's a lot of money for a Carabao Cup, isn't it? I don't even know if you win that much money just for winning the Carabao Cup itself. You'd have to win that at least 5 years in a row, I think, for us to recoup the money for that. I mean, do you think there's a chance for him starting anywhere else?
I think, like I say, he's kind of lost his place to Garnacho sort of the last most of last season, certainly in the league. I can't see him getting a start in a league game unless there's some injuries or anything like that on current form. You know, he was not brilliant by any stretch last night. He had a couple more shots in the second half. One that the keeper sort of just put over, and one that was just straight at the keeper. So other than that, I didn't really see him much, decent, getting balls in the box, anything like that, particularly from out wide. So I think he's pretty much going to be, like you say, bench warming. Other than in the Europa League games, he might perhaps get a start in 1 or 2 of those games, and maybe a few other rounds of the cups if we're playing League 1, League 2 again.
He's definitely got some work to do, hasn't he? Definitely got some work to do. But what I will say as well, I mean, Jarvis did mention that he's lost the ball 15 times. To me, I'm not fussed about that statistic. For me, my statistic I would be worried about that is how many recoveries did he get? If he loses the ball 15 times, how many times does he go back and win it? Because that's ultimately is what Manchester United was built around. If you lose the ball, you bloody well go and get it. Don't just sit there and go, oh, somebody else will do that for me. So, yeah, very interesting. Right, let's go to Daz's question, because a few people talking about being there. NT had mentioned, feeling a bit sorry for him because he gets a chance to play and then barely has a shot against him. So it was effectively, he probably could have sat down at a pre-course dinner, ordered something from Nando's, bit of Netflix, no dramas, it'd have been fine. And this was genuinely what I was trying to say to the guy that was texting me. Like, it was just, there was just no fight. They were gone. They didn't get into our half in the second half. That they were tired. There was just no chance that Barnsley were going to score. Like, I've never felt so confident we were keeping a clean sheet than I did after about 55 minutes. I'm like, that's it. They're not scoring. Like, it wasn't going to happen, especially not against a back five. I think we probably could have just left Casemiro on his back, on his own, lying down on a sun lounger, and we still wouldn't have conceded because they just didn't seem to have anything left in the tank. But as Daz says here, does anyone else think the goalkeeper had better distribution than Onana? Now, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a question that I'm overly fussed about in terms of the distribution side of things. But you guys have seen Onana regularly, and you've had the chance to see Binder. Do you think his distribution was better than Onana, John?
I'm trying to think now. I mean, obviously, he didn't see a lot of the ball, so I suppose he didn't have a great lot to do distribution wise. I think we were mainly sort of just playing it out from the back a lot of the time. Certainly in the first half, it's one of those, isn't it? When the sort of backup goalkeeper finally gets his chance, he doesn't have anything to do all game, so he can't really sort of show what he's capable of, unfortunately. But what I've seen of him, he looks very steady, composed. Nothing, no silly antics or anything like that. But as far as his distribution goes, from what I could see, he seemed calm and passing it around the back four. Didn't seem to be any issues there at all.
No, it seems reasonable. Andrew, is that pretty much what you saw? I know there's lots of conversation about goalkeepers at United, and at the moment there's lots of buzzwords being used around it. At the end of the day, it's a clean sheet. I know he hasn't had too much to do, but not just a clean sheet. The fact that we've gone on to knock 7 past Barnsley as well, is that partially to do with his distribution? Was he, key to getting some of those moves started off from a foundation level? So even though it was other players that went on and got all the glory, was there a little bit there of him doing that as well?
So yeah, he's played his part in that. The whole team has as well. So, but I say it was only his second start for United. And Ten Hag's ended on a rare rest. At Old Trafford. And besides that, Baindy, he had very little to do, but that can be only confidence for our number 2 as well. So. What would you rather have, the team, going forward and, getting the goals, or being under the cosh, and, trying to keep us in the game? So we probably would have maybe wanted to make 1 or 2 saves, but, United were comfortable from start to finish, So his very last game was like nearly 9 months ago, against Newport. So, and it wasn't until last night we get to see him again. So, but. I say he was decent, and so I think it was in the first 10 or 15 minutes. Barnsley was showing, as I said earlier, showing a bit of no fear. It was like trying to get down that right. I think they had at one point had a corner as well, but when they got it in Baindy, it was just like got into the commanded the box and got the ball out the air and just like got us moving again. So, but as I say, he had very little to do because what his teammates in front of him were doing a great job. So it was like, keeping the walls away from the door, so which is what you want. You want a comfortable night in goal.
It really was a comfortable night in goal. You are not kidding. The Carabao Cup has thrown up some very, very interesting matches and results and scores. Stoke, a side that you would have expected to win quite happily against Fleetwood, ended up being taken to penalties and winning 2-1 on penalties, by the way. I mean, that is a shocking penalty scoreline, by the way. Other big ones for, of course, Everton and Southampton, which ended up going to penalties as well. Poor old Everton finally got a game where they didn't lose but still lost because of the penalty shootout, so that was a shame for them. Crystal Palace did beat QPR as well. For me, and I know it's a Manchester United channel, but is there any chance that any of you caught the Preston against Fulham penalty shootouts?
No, I was obviously travelling back from the game, and then I just happened to hear on the radio on the way back that it finished, was it 16-15?
16-15. It was absolutely unreal. The penalties were just sublime. I missed the first 12, but I had to switch it on just to see what was going on. And honestly, the guy that I was texting is a Fulham fan. So when we're having this conversation about the United keeping a clean sheet, we actually started with one of our other friends in the group chat saying, "Oh, I see Man United are smashing Barnsley," and he went, "Oh yeah, it's just a friendly." At which point I sent a picture, a meme of the Incredible Hulk doing Hulk smash, and then I sent underneath that a screenshot of Preston 1, Fulham 1. It's not for everyone, which made him giggle. But what I found really interesting with that one, it took me back to the Villarreal Europa League final one, with just how long it was going for. But at least it stopped when it got to the goalkeepers. They went round again. Can you imagine what that's like? Thinking you've done your job, and then coming back around, and you've got to do it again. And actually, when you then think about doing that, where do you put the ball? Because I went this way that time. Where do I go with it this time? Like the pressure, like double. I've done my bit. I've scored the penalty. Whoa, maybe not. I've got to do it again. It's crazy, isn't it? What did you make of it?
Were the first 10 all scored in before it went to sudden death?
I think, yeah. The first 10 were all scored, so it's 5-5. I don't think they missed a penalty. I don't think they missed a penalty. I think it was about 12 and 13. So I think Fulham missed one, and then Preston was saved as well. And then it went again for like absolutely ages. And the goalkeepers, by the way, were pretty good penalties as well. So, but yeah, Andrew, anything to throw out on that one? Because that's just bloody crazy.
Yeah, I remember
Madness.
Outside the game, just getting something to eat. I said to Shane, I was like, I guess that game, the penalties, how many was scored, and I said he was pretty much near close. So yeah, 16-15. So that beats a previous record, Liverpool Middlesbrough. That was 14-13. So the Scousers went on one. So, but of course they did, yeah. But in that game, I don't know I can't remember if there was any misses or they all just went straight, into goals before the first person missed. But just think you're gonna have confidence, to step up and take that penalty. But just think, as you said, it reminds me of the Villarreal, Man United. I just think De Gea having in his towel where the players were going to go, and I think there was one particular player, and he knew where he was going to go, and I think he was written in there, and De Gea didn't go that way, or I think he just stood there, and he went. The player went the way it said in the note. I was like, all you had to do was follow your notes, and we would have won the Europa League. But it just didn't work out for us that night. But yeah. Crazy score last night at Preston. Fulham. So, I'd say you never know. We might land up with them in the draw. Because I kept thinking, the draw's not in the next round. Not draw for the next round. Not until next week. So we're going to wait another week before we find out. If United are charging us again to go to Old Trafford, or we got an away trip.
Why are they next week?
What? I think there's more games.
It's Champions League, isn't it?
Of course, yeah.
So
I didn't realise.
The likes of Villa, City, and Liverpool are playing.
It's
there's loads this week, isn't there?
Genuinely, it's so bizarre how they've set out this Champions League now. Because
I'm just going to turn up and watch the games and forget. I
knew I was going to miss the beginning of the game because I had to nip to training. So I knew I'd be coming back. I was listening to TalkSport to see if they were going to be doing the commentary, and of course they weren't. They were doing the Aston Villa match, and you just heard them say, "Well, we're going to be back with whatever the next game was," but it's a Champions League game. But on TalkSport 2, we've got the Carabao Cup, and it's just, they just don't level up at all with that one, do they? Like, you've got the Champions League over here, but we're also going to be covering the Carabao Cup. It's really weird that they've sort of spread that out in the manner that they have. But one team that is unlikely to be in that draw is, of course, Wolves. Brighton are winning 3-1 at the minute there, so that's not looking too good. And say it quietly, but Spurs are losing 1-0 as well to the mighty Coventry. Probably don't want to see them again this season. They caused us enough trouble last year. My laptop has only just about survived that encounter, so we definitely don't want that again. I suppose the last question really needs to be, what do you see being the end goal for the Carabao Cup this season? Liverpool have gone on to win it 10 times, I think. Man City are above us as well with 8. We won it 6 times. Can you foresee it being the lucky number 7 this season, John, or do you think that we are just going to be using this to offer games for players that may not be starting that regularly, much like we did in the olden days? And actually, this isn't going to be high on our list of priorities when you consider the other 3 trophies that we're going for. And yes, I do include the league in that because we're way too early to not be saying we've got a chance on that one.
I think Ten Hag seems to have this thing. He's quite seems to quite like going for it in the domestic cups. I think it probably all depends really. It's luck of the draw, isn't it? Who you get in the next few rounds, sort of thing. You know, I mean, we can beat anybody on our day. We know that. It's just obviously sometimes how and when it falls against some of these teams in the schedule. But I certainly think he'll be, putting a strong team out again, whoever it is. I don't know if it perhaps makes it a bit more awkward with how the, like we've just been talking about, the Europa League and the Carabao Cup sort of being staggered and different times and things like that. But we've always had a proud record in the domestic cups over the years, so I think he'll be taking it very seriously again. I think.
Would you be happy this season if that's the only thing we win?
I guess not. No, where we are now. No, it'd be nice if we could win something else. Europa League. It's got to be an ambition again. But it'd certainly be if we made it 3 trophies in 3 years, then you can't really knock that. If you have a nice a good run in the league as well.
Can't disagree with that, Andrew. Same 2 questions to you, really. Do you see us going for it? Full tilt. Do you think we're going to do it the way that we're doing now, which is maybe put some of the youngsters out, and then maybe if we get to the latter end of the tournament, take it a bit more seriously and start putting some of the regulars out, because the level of game, not the level of games, but the number of games might have changed, the intensity of them and the amount. And what do you reckon if that was all we came home with, if we ended the season just like in Ten Hag's first with just a Carabao Cup? How would you feel about that?
Yeah, say you can tell from the lineup he put out yesterday, he wanted to go strong. He wasn't taking Barnsley lightly, and as he said, I want to go and win this competition. All the competitions we're in, we want to go and win them as well. So, and I just think last night, yes, provided a short-term morale boost, but hopefully it builds into something longer term as well. So I think it just reminded, for United, we can win, and we can win big too as well. We can all win 1-0, but we can also win by a healthy scoreline as well. But yeah, I'd say even when we after the Community Shield, I was said maybe see it again in February for the Carabao Cup final. So it'd be nice to be going back again, because it just feels like in the last couple of years we've been there quite a few times. So we just want to keep that run, going as well. So, but it's would I be happy if it's the only thing we win this season? I'll be kind of like John, we need to kick on. We need to be, winning other trophies as well, and start doing more well in the league as well. So just like I said, the poor start we've had to the start of the season, we're thinking maybe hopefully this is the turning point, and we start going on good runs, in the league and the cup competitions. So we want to be winning it all. So as the chant goes.
Absolutely that. Well, there you go. That's an hour. That's more than enough, I think. I mean, it is only Barnsley. So, how we managed to get 63 minutes out of that, God only knows. But we did. I just think it's a brilliant result. I really do. And I suppose my big hope is that we use that now as a springboard. We were struggling to get goals. We've got loads of them now. Let's hope that has unleashed the beast in a few of our players, and that the Premier League will have to suffer the consequences of that happening. It's been superb. Great show. Thank you very much to everybody in the chat. Superb to have you all with us. So thank you once again. Andrew, thank you for joining us as well. Where can people find you and some of your inane ramblings? Talk about where you are on the internet. Where can people go and follow you?
So you can find me at that handle there on X, Twitter, and obviously my inane ramblings on Stretford Paddock. So you can read my review of last night's game over on there and my ratings of the players as well.
Interesting. Who did you put as your player in the match?
I went from Marcus.
Okay, interesting. Very good. And John, where can people find you if they wanted to?
That's my X account on the screen there. I'm usually on there looking at what's going on in the United world.
Absolutely. And who's your player of the match?
I'd not thought about that actually. Who would be give the player of the match to? I'd probably
The hint was when I asked Andy.
I'd give it Garnacho, I think.
Okay, fair enough. Good job. Unfortunately, Mr. Foster's a bit too late, so unlucky there. So you'll have to go back and watch it from the beginning. And Daz just says to finish us off, I think it's important to mention all the people saying it's only Barnsley. Premier League versus League One is the most common fixture in the early rounds, and we never see 7-0. Listen, I agree. I think ultimately what we're trying to say there is that you're expected to win. It doesn't matter what you do. And actually, I think what's pleasing about all of this is that we didn't just go out there, we smashed them in the manner that you would expect a Premier League side to do to a League One side. So no, you don't often see it. It is very pleasing. But had we won 2-0, 2-1, it still would have been expected that we'd have won. I'm sure there would have been people sitting there going, it's only Barnsley, we should have scored more. So, you know, we've just got to do it so that we can gloat. And when we say that, it's only Barnsley, and then we can say what we want because we're, you know, level-headed people and we're not just, you know, like, we're going to win the league. You know, that sort of thing, because I already did that. So it's all good. Right. Good stuff, everyone. Thank you very much. Really enjoyed it. When are we going to be back? We are going to be back at the weekend. I'm sure there's going to be a preview of the Palace game at some point. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We'll see a week again. I don't know. I don't even know what day it is. I'm on so many channels doing so many things at the moment. I couldn't tell you. We've got prediction leagues running off over in the women's world. Forget about it. Lots to do. So we'll be back when we're back. Check us out on Twitter. Keep watching YouTube. Find out when we're on there. And if you see it, come and see us. Like, subscribe, follow, enjoy. And we will see you all later. Take care.